many different things that you heard me kind of throw in about is actually tax. I'm an enrolled agent, which is kind of akin to a CPA or tax attorney, but it's a federal licensing. And that was how I kind of got in. Was we'd started an automated accounting platform, a QuickBook killer, for less of a better word. And we couldn't find a payroll system to white label and bring in to use in our platform. And I've been writing about cryptocurrency tax issues since 2014. I've been around the space, investing some, and I saw this as a great opportunity for applying blockchain technology, and that there was really good opportunity here for tokenization. And I'll be honest, that a lot of people said, oh, this is an easy way to raise money, so go ahead, issue a token, make some money. And I had a former co-founder. I really think that was his only motivation. But for me, I love the technology. And as we got deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole of this, I realized that what we're doing can really change people's lives and can really make a difference using blockchain. And it started to become more and more about the technology, about helping people. And actually to the point where now we are a payroll-only company, and we're actually developing open source software as a platform that will allow other companies to be integrating into us. So we don't want to replace ADP and Paychex. We want to become their back end for processing payroll. So that's I think I might be getting ahead of myself a little bit. So Peacounts, we're changing how payroll is by changing how you pay people. So you could use standard salary or hourly payment, but you also could think about it in terms of paying a developer based on who's the most active developer and the number of keystrokes they make, or the lines of code. And sure, you still need some management who would be checking the quality or developing other AI tools to be checking the quality based on that. But there's different ways where we can create more of a meritocracy in the employment world by having the different ways people paid really tied to how productive they actually are. And I think going forward, when we have a lot of artificial intelligence and coming in, and people are really worried about automation and losing jobs, and I think there's going to be a need to be proving that what we do is important and valid, as well as more gig economy types of jobs and needing to process all these different types of payments based on that. So this is, we're really reinventing the way people work. And you could have different types of applications where, for example, you could have an artist in a tribe in South America that's creating indigenous art. And I live in New Mexico. And in Santa Fe, they have all these big art markets where they resell this art over and over again. And the only person who receives the money when you resell it is the person who bought it previously. But what if instead a portion of that every sale goes back to a trust fund for the tribe? I mean, this could really change people's lives and change the way money is distributed on different types of products. Or a personal issue I have is I own 9 Airbnb properties. And on our Airbnb properties, we constantly have issues with housekeepers or construction workers, pool cleaners coming in. And I don't know if they actually showed up. I don't know if they were there the hours they said they were. I don't know, they could have been taking a nap on the sofa, even if they were there. It's always a little bit of a challenge. So, being able to use like these tools of geolocation and, monitoring their activity and letting you know exactly what they're doing, again, it creates a system of fairness in payments where the people who are doing the work feel like they got paid fairly for what they did, and the person who's making the payment feels like they paid for the fair amount of work at the end of the day. And it makes, people feel a little bit happier, I think, in the end of things. Also, blockchain technology is one of those things that in the Western world, I think we have a little bit of a hard time in general to really conceptualize all of the uses of it, because it really is helpful more to people who don't have the advantages we have. So 38% of the world is unbanked, where they don't have bank accounts and they don't have access to these kind of services. For them, being able to make payments in a safe and secure manner is huge. Also, large amounts of the world don't have strong legal systems that protect them in employment-type relationships. If you do a job for somebody and you don't get paid, then for them, this can be not being able to feed their family. So having those guarantees and verification that they're going to receive what they bargained for can really help a lot of people in areas that are not as developed with the infrastructure that we have here. So the way our system works is we have, we're issuing tokens, that'll be the P tokens, and we have smart contract architecture that will be automating the payment part of it. And then we're gonna have AI tools on top of that, so basically it's like a drag and drop interface, and you choose which types of terms you want, and each term is tied to a token. So you have 100 tokens that are staked for every employee, so you can have up to 100 different milestones that are reached in that employment agreement. So you could, for example, have a sales team where you have all these different milestones broken down where they get paid each time they, call 100, customers and talk to them on the phone, or each time they get, 300 commitments from this particular group, and have lots of little tiny milestones and competitions to motivate workers and create different types of incentivization there. We have 3 basic stages of growth that we're looking at for us. The first is a 2-part beta stage. Our first part beta will be with other companies that are running token sales, because a lot of the tools that we're developing for internal use, it's kind of a natural flow to be sharing those with other companies. And then the second stage, we'd actually like to run in Africa to be able to help some of the people who really need these types of services and protection, and to be able to test out a lot of the more like physical activity type of tools with people who really receive the advantages from rather than the being stuck with the idea of the transaction fee. Because I think that's a lot of what it is that's kind of a holdback for people accepting blockchain-based projects, is the transaction fee nature of it. That there's a challenge in like a Western consumer mind. We're used to getting everything for free. Our bank accounts, we don't pay anything on them. Yeah, our credit cards, everything is paid by the merchant side. There's this concept and idea of it. And I think that you need to get people who receive more benefit than they feel concerns about having to pay for it out of their end, at least in early stages of adoption. Some of these issues may be solved down the line. I'm getting ahead of myself. I speak mainly on like applications of blockchain technology or regulatory issues or other kinds of things. So I easily get off track and into some very obscure thoughts and ideas for the future. So excuse me if I'm going into educational mode, because that's my my normal mode here. So one of the things that we're doing that's really different than most companies right now is, rather than being an Ethereum or other platform-based token, we're actually forking Bitcoin and spinning up our own blockchain. And the reasons for this is we were running into a lot of security vulnerabilities with Ethereum. So on Solidity smart contracts, there was a paper that came out last March that 89% of the smart contracts were easily hackable. So it's pretty frightening when you start to think about that. And so our architecture we're building is a simpler architecture, and simplicity generally correlates well with security. So we're not going to be creating fully Turing-compatible tokens, or Turing-complete tokens. Smart contracts, I should say. We're going to be creating a much simpler smart contract architecture that just does what we need it to do, and then all of the AI tools will be a layer on top of that. So that creates a platform that is more easy to monitor the security of. Also, Bitcoin has been around almost 10 years, and in the tech world, to have something around for 10 years that hasn't been hacked is pretty incredible. there's not a lot of platforms out there, or tech products in general out there that can make that claim. Yeah. So basing on something that's already a very strong and secure technology, I think is a very strong foundation for what we were looking at and building. So a little bit about the team. I briefly introduced myself and my finance background. If you hear me talking about tech, you probably know I have a little bit of a tech background before that as well. And then our CTO is Ben Stewart. He's the head of the Black Box Foundation, and he's pretty amazing. He does AI and blockchain implementations all day long. Lindsay Anderson, our CMO, is here with me today, and she is amazing with her branding and marketing development skills. Additionally, our CFO, Andy Coleman, has a lot of experience auditing for Ernst & Young and then for big banks in Europe. And then our COO is Elise Blankenship, and she actually developed an ERP system from scratch at her last company. So we have a pretty amazing team, both for technical and business-related skills. I'm very honored to have them believe in the vision and be supporting what we're doing. This slide isn't looking very good on here. It was a keynote and it became that. Okay, we'll just go to the next one. That was our timeline. If you have any question about that, you can talk to me later. The tokenomics. So, this has been a year where the cryptocurrency world changed very much, as I think most of the people in this audience will know about. And it really changed a lot with what people were looking for and what the needs are going out into a project. So we are right now we're doing 2 private rounds. The first round is a 1.2 million, and the second is like 7.8, a little under that. So roughly 10 from the 2 of them. And with the between the 2 of them, the distribution is 50% of the tokens going to the token holders, and roughly 25% into the company pool that we would reserve for future token sales or raises, additional runway. And the rest of it's a little self-explanatory there for 6% for employees, 4% for founders, 3% for advisors, 5% for developer incentives for when we're bringing in the community to do community contributions. And that's one of the tools also we're developing, is a vesting tool for monitoring contributions from like developer communities, so that you can be fairly allocating to the different developers and being able to match them with the right amount of tokens for the effort that they've put in for what they've done. And then this is the budget for the first 1.2 that's in there, and 72% of this is going to development, actually. So we're pretty developer-centric at this stage. And the main community we're working on marketing and building is, of course, the developer community at this point, to be able to get that open source contribution, because that's really important. I think a lot of companies underestimate the importance of security when they're building tokenized projects. And you need to, I know some of like the founders of some of the bigger platforms out there who have spent millions on security testing. So, and that's just the outside, that's not the internal security team. So I think having that like strong open source community, especially for getting people who are testing and giving anonymous feedback when they're finding issues, is really important to the success of a project. And then, this is for the long-term allocation of funds that, goes down for development and then goes up for marketing and other types of things. When we get into the marketplace, which was the second stage of our development, is creating a marketplace then between users and developers. So we would have developers who are building out custom solutions for businesses or for entrepreneurs who want to like sell for a specific industry. I've had people approach me for this already. One guy wanted to create a solution for fish markets and for being able to like more fairly distribute funds to fish. I know like none of this sounds like that exciting, but it's all very like necessary to creating a more liquid employment market for many people out there. So I know it's not as exciting as you know, TV projects, but it really is something that's valuable to the world. And then our fundamental value here, oh wow, this one got kind of messed up again too. I don't know what happened on this slide either. But
exponential growth in 2020.
Yeah, that's not right. I'm not sure what happened here on the chart. Sorry, I'm a Mac person, so I did all this in Keynote, and then I exported to PowerPoint, and apparently it got screwed up. So so anyway, the token supply doesn't start in 2020; it starts in 2019. And this is the showing the inflation based on mining over the first 5-year period compared to the increase in the token usage. And the increase in the token usage is based on when the marketplace launches and bringing the marketplace to out with that. But token supply is a bit more gradual from, I believe it should start at around 225. So it starts at the right point, just at the wrong year right there. And that's the third stage of our development plan, which we didn't go into here. I'll go back to that slide. The third stage of our development plan of the growth is to have an analytics market to be able to help businesses, because we're going to have all this data from what people actually do in their jobs. And then also to create an employment marketplace based on that data, where you can have more fair employment to know the people you are hiring have been really successful at their prior jobs. And you can, for example, hire, like, for example, autistic people have a big problem because they don't interview well, but typically they're very good employees. So there's a lot of disadvantaged workers out there. The glass ceiling for women is another example, because women are taught to not really sell ourselves as much when we go into a job interview. And I think that having that record of showing you were a top performer, showing how good you did at that prior job, will make a difference for a lot of people who are very good at what they do, but aren't always necessarily good at selling themselves or talking about that. So that's our third stage of growth with that. So anyway, we're Peacounts. We're trying to change how people feel about their work relationships is the bottom line, and make the world a happier and more prosperous place. Yes.
So what was the deciding factor, instead of using one of the other platforms? I know you were touching on security, but was there any other reasons other than security for actually forking Bitcoin and going in that direction?
So we had narrowed it down to 2 platforms. We had narrowed it down to Ethereum or Stellar. And with Stellar, there was a lot of additional cost involved, and there's some issues because it's not fully decentralized. So it kind of kept coming back to Ethereum. And there also are the gas cost issues with Ethereum recently. So it's not, the security was the main concerns, but and also it's just lack of control. There's a lot of security issues that are potential security issues down the road that may not even be an issue at this current moment. So, for example, Casper, that they want to do with the proof of stake system. There's already tons of Reddit threads out there with how to hack Casper. And I ran the numbers. It would take 16 months to affect a hack. So it's not really an immediate concern, but it's certainly an outlying concern. And when you don't have the control to be putting those patches in and creating that, it's yeah, you spend a little more time at the outset and a little more time with maintenance over it, but you have full control.
Yeah, and who's the one within the organization that's helping you guys get onto, what is their background of utilizing Bitcoin, a Bitcoin fork and such? Like, do you have a team member that is like helping with that? Or is
No,
that
so so Ben and I actually spun up a test chain. So we have a test chain, all of our code's up on GitHub.
nice.
And we have an active chain that we're using, running tests on, building it. Yeah, our app, all the code for that is up on GitHub. We have, so we're testing, working through like all the details of it. It's actually not hard, believe it or not. It's it's funny. Like people think it's this like huge difficult thing, but there's actually even like websites you can go to and spin up your own blockchain in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So we didn't do that. We went through and we did went through the code and we did it ourselves for the test chain. So we had, better understanding of it and a better idea of like each detail that we want to modify. And then we're testing on it now. And we're also, one of the risks and issues of that is when you're a small blockchain, there's a lot of risks of like 51% attacks or 1 hour attacks really with like rented hash power. So we've been like also running some tests and hacking and like, seeing how big of risks those really are and what things we can add to the code to mitigate that.
Yeah, that was my next question was 51% attack, but you got it there. So cool.
Yeah, so that's the thing is like, these are always outlying risks, but the thing about it, like I was really concerned about that with Bitcoin for a long time. But the thing about it is like, if you really do get your, 51% or, your enough hash rate for a 1 hour attack, even the cost, I think it's like $670,000 right now to do a 1 hour attack on Bitcoin. Like, could you actually receive more money back than that from attacking it? Like, probably not. Because whatever Bitcoin you stole, even if you stole more value than that, the fact that an attack actually happened would decrease the value of what you stole so much that it would be ineffective. It's like, it would be detected and the news would get out so quickly and it would affect the market so quickly. Plus, at the exchange level, like we've been discussing with some exchanges for exchange listing that, with letters of intent and that kind of stuff. And like for them, like they have to build in extra security protocols also because, on the exchange level, if there's unusual activity, a sudden spike, things of that nature, they a lot of times will, shut down trading temporarily, do other types of measures that come out. So there's a lot of mitigation for that on many different levels out there for the actual blockchains that are running.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's really as big of a concern as like the numbers necessarily make it look like. Yeah. There's a lot of easier places to attack.
Yeah.
I read the other day that on IoT devices, 50% of them don't even have, like base level of encryption of your data.
Wow.
It's like, that's such a huge honeypot. You can hack anybody's like refrigerator or, and then have access to all their financial information on the computer that's networked to it.
Yeah, crazy.
So there's a lot of easier honeypots out there.
Yeah, agreed. Yep. Good. Thank you.
Yes?
Yeah, okay. So if you fork Bitcoin like you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
you're saying that so the security is backed by the same security, like electrical cost as Bitcoin?
No, so we would be a separate network. So the way a fork works is it's like you take a snapshot of the code at the time of the fork, and then you add whatever modifications to that code, and then you issue it as like a new code. And for us forking, we're giving a token to everybody who's an existing Bitcoin token holder. So we're doing that in lieu of like an airdrop or other way of like raising marketing awareness in order to have the existing like Bitcoin holders have one of our tokens essentially. So it's just a way of like, you take it from like a certain time point of like a block that it's at, and then you spin off and two come off that at that block.
I understand that part. I guess what I'm saying is, okay, so you've got like 1,000 companies now on the network, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing their payrolls and everything. The mining and the hash power involved in validating that.
It's a whole separate community in there.
But you only need 51% of that hash
Of that.
power to attack you, so you can be attacked. That's not security. Until you get really large.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, that in the beginning stages, you need to mitigate that. Because once you have a certain amount of decentralization, then it's not an issue. And then, you know, also with like the rented hash power, you can only access and change so many things. So like I said, it's not really a big honeypot for hacking, that the cost involved tends to be higher than what you can get out of it. You know. Other questions? No, I can't believe I explained it all that well if there's no other questions. I mean, sorry, maybe a little bit too tech heavy, but you know, we're really trying to do something that's different and you know, make a something that makes a difference too.
Yeah, it covers a lot of ground. It definitely, we're doing a lot of good and innovating in the process.
Yeah.
I did have a question. It's more like philosophical, but like,
Sure.
what kind of inspired you to go in like this direction? Like, what was it where you saw that it was like a huge problem, like you were saying about your Airbnbs, you know, like what really inspired you also to use like the blockchain to do this? Like, what was like the factor that really like said, hey, I should use blockchain for this, and like, you know, that I really want to attack this problem, you know, from where your background?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a lot of like, it was a lot of little things. So it was when we found that we couldn't find a good payroll system to implement into the accounting system that I saw, wow, there's this opportunity here that nobody has this flexible payroll system that, you know, sure, you can implement like an ADP or something, but you can't take a flexible system and adapt it to specific industries, specific needs, different, you know, things of that nature. And then as time grew on, you know, went on, I kept thinking, wow, like I could use this for this thing in my life. Or I started talking to people and would find like a friend who was a graphic designer who got burned and didn't get paid for the work. It's like, wow, if this system existed, you would know you're going to get paid for the work because it's automated. And that like automation, to be able to have that and to be able to not have to rely on third parties, not have to rely on the legal system, it puts a lot of power in the hands of the people who are doing the work. And I think we need that kind of a power shift in the world.
Who verifies the work is done appropriately? Because there's always that, I pay someone to create a logo, they say they've created it, I say it looks like crap.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, those are the tools that we're working on developing, where that determination would be made by AI based on the terms of the agreement. So the terms of the agreement go into the smart contract. So say the logo that you want is, you know, X like size of like DPI, and then it includes this feature in it, includes these colors, that, you know, it would then look at this and say this meets these agreements, and we're going to give it to you. You know, of course, if the agreement is the other person has to approve, you can't really do anything about that.
Right.
Like there's still going to be some methods for arbitration, other types of, you know, dispute resolution that will have to be built in there for these types of occurrences. But you know, like we're not building out each of these individual solutions. We're a technology platform, so we're building the toolkit, the SDK, to be able to have the smart contract architecture to make this happen, to have the AI toolkit to make this happen. And then it would be up to entrepreneurs who are passionate about, you know, that specific issue of, you know, for graphic designers, and they would then, you know, have the platform base where it handle most of the things, and they would have the dispute resolution on the back end of what they do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know. Great answer.
So, all right.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Chris.
everyone.
We're going to do a 2 or 3 minute changeover, and then Tom from CoinMD is going to come up and pitch for us.